Who's Randy? Don't bring anyone mother into this. Yo, mom in the fucking stand!
Like, you don't feel it at all.
Just have fun out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's just have fun out there. Be yourself.
Can I ask you, Kevin, so when you did SNL, you know how, I don't know, where does it hit you when you get nervous? Like, what do you do?
Well, here's what my psychology was on that show. The first time I did it, the year we came on, I came on with Phil Hartman and Dana Carvey and Jan Hooks.
Jesus
and
Christ, I mean.
Those people, yeah. And
heavy hitters, man.
the show before that also had a good cast, but the synergy wasn't there with the writing. You know, it was like Robert Downey Jr., Anthony Michael Hall, I think Julia Louis-Dreyfus. You know, it was a great cast, but the writing wasn't there, and the show was plummeting, and they were about to cancel it. Excuse me. So they brought our cast in. That's kind of a last resort, I guess, one more chance. And so we lived out of our suitcases like every week. We weren't sure if it was going to get canceled or not, you know. So we were doing our best. And this was a consideration for me. Am I going to like just freak out because of the stress and being on stage? It's SNL, you know. So what I did was, excuse me, I pretended that nobody was watching the show anymore. You know, nobody's going to watch it. And this is going to be the only show they're going to do. Then they're going to cancel it. So, you know, just go out there and have fun. So that was my mindset. And I thought the cameras didn't have film in them, you know, and I was used to playing in front of a live audience from stand-up.
Sure.
And that audience is not that big there. It's only like 300 people. And so it was kind of fine. And then the next day, I found out a lot of people watched.
Yeah. Was there a particular sketch where you realize the next day or the next week that, oh, this has made me way more famous, like because you're walking around and people are...
Well, yeah. It was my first sketch, Subliminal.
Oh, Subliminal.
Yeah. I just came out of the gate with that. And I wasn't even a cast member. I was a feature player the first year and a writer. So, you know, I was walking around with Jan Hooks, who was an amazing, you know, sketch player, impressionist, everything. I mean, she's right up on the top of the list right there for everybody that's been on that show. And people weren't recognizing her, and I was getting recognized.
Wow.
Stand-up who had no experience as a cast, you know, as a sketch player or characters or anything, you know, and I was getting recognized. So that kind of was baffling her a little bit.
So you knew it was a good sketch then?
It was a good sketch.
It hit a nerve, and people thought it was funny.
And was Fever Pitch of fame from that doing like the, well, obviously Weekend Update's got to make you're in people's faces.
But that came later for me, though. I had done 5 years
at
on that
point?
show
Okay.
without doing Weekend Update.
Oh, okay.
I did a Weekend Update for 3 years and then a year not doing it. But it was interesting to watch the evolution of being recognized, you know.
Sure.
Because I had done like the Tonight Show and Letterman and stuff as a stand-up, so I had some recognition. But
With
when
Carson.
Fuck. When I got on SNL, though, it was like it just took off, especially in New York City. You know, you kind of felt like the mayor. But, you know, it went from this, like, hey, you that dude from NBC. Hey, you that dude from NBC, right?
Yeah.
And then the next week, hey, you're Franz and Hans. You guys are Hans and Franz. That's Hans and Franz. I'm just standing there alone. Hey, you're Hans and Franz. And then it's, hey, Kevin Nielsen. Nielsen from SNL. And then it was Kevin Nealon, you know. And now it's going back the other way.
But Hans and Franz was a cultural...
Oh, my God.
I mean, we did it on the schoolyard. Hans and Franz,
Yeah, a lot of
pumping
people
you
in
up.
Halloween costumes and stuff.
Dude, it was like...
Astronauts were doing it in the space shuttle.
That
it's
is
crazy.
the era where when we would go to school on Monday, you know,
Yeah.
it would be people would be reciting sketches.
Yeah.
Well, that sketch in particular
for
was
sure.
like...
And that's exactly why when I was doing Weekend Update, people, I realized, didn't like to write for Weekend Update. The writers didn't like to write specifically for Weekend Update because it wasn't a glorifying job. Like on Monday, nobody was talking about, hey, did you hear about that? Did you hear that Bush joke or whatever, that Clinton joke? You know, so they had to entice them to come write jokes for me.
Oh, wow.
They would put out a breakfast spread, like a buffet in the writer's wing on Saturday morning, and they'd have newspapers all over the big writer's table and, you know, and AP photos because there's no Google back then, you know. So
I feel, by the way, that it's super intimidating of all the things to do Weekend Update.
it is. It really is.
It's a lot of pressure, right?
It is a lot of pressure. But people would come up, you know, a few writers would come up. The newer writers would come up who weren't that good. And then some of the other writers, like Al Franken, would always come because he was such a political junkie,
Yeah.
you know. And and Norm MacDonald would come up, but he would come up just to have breakfast and read the paper. And then so I had to like hire people outside the show to fax me in jokes. And I would pay them out of my own pocket, $50 a joke.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it was important to me to do well on Weekend Update. And then I write my own jokes too. But you really couldn't start looking to write material until Friday night, maybe after the late night talk shows were done. Because they were covering everything. So Saturday morning, it's like you wake up and you get like 5 papers and you start looking through them and you start writing jokes and hope that the writers come up with something.
Now, did it because you were busy with Weekend Update? Would that buy you the freedom to not have to do like if you're like?
No, I was also writing sketches for myself.
Fucking A, man.
Yeah, and I was in other sketches. Dennis did a great job. Miller on Weekend Update did it, I think, for 7 years, and he was fantastic. But he wasn't really in a lot of sketches, so he could focus on that. I was juggling, I wasn't my full focus, and I was working with Herb Sargent, who was a segment producer of that show, and he was up in his 70s, And I would meet with him like in between the dress rehearsal show and a live show and go over the jokes that worked and didn't work. And, and then I had to get back down to like work on my sketch. And so I go back out to Weekend Update during the live show, and some of the jokes that we had talked about losing were still in there.
Because he didn't.
Because either he wrote them or he liked them. And I didn't really realize it until the next morning. I'm laying in bed kind of going over everything, and thinking, that joke wasn't supposed to be. So he knew that I was not focused, and he could do kind of sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes he would do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, but it was fun. I loved it. I loved Saturday nights they went so fast, And I always avoided like the parties, the after parties.
You did?
Yeah. At first they were fun, but then it became more of just a thing for your guests to go to.
Oh, I got you.
Because you were exhausted from work, and you didn't want to be out till like 5 a.m.
Because they must be,
Sunday.
right? Yeah, they must be till late.
Oh, yeah, because you don't get there until after the show, and the show ends at 1 o'clock. And then by the time you're clean up and everything, getting the limos, we each had our own limo that would take us to this different restaurant each Saturday, and then because that was a big deal for your friends that were in. The guests were the biggest problem on that show. You're worried about them getting their seats. When you should have been focusing on your sketch or whatever, you're worried, did they get in okay? Are they in? Okay, you're okay? You okay? Good.
Oh, right.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to meet you down by the limo afterwards. Okay, we're going to go to the party.
It's so annoying.
It's the worst.
And then the parties weren't even really parties. I mean, they were fun, but it was at a restaurant, and you go there, you sit at your own table with your guests, and their necks were craned the whole night looking, at celebrities, and then you pay the bill for everybody. And then you get home at like 4 a.m, and then you're wasted on Sunday. Your only free day.
Yeah,
And
That's what I'm always curious about. So is Sunday is your one down day, and you must just collapse on a Sunday, right? Like, do you even get out of bed?
I get out of bed, because I love that it's a free day, and I don't want to waste it, but I'm exhausted, And then the next thing you know, it's Monday. Evening, and you're meeting with the next host for the new show the next week.
It's an exhausting schedule.
It is, but it was great. I had fun. I was young at the time, and I could handle it. And,
did you have a least favorite guest that you don't mind?
I didn't like any of them.
Really?
Not really. Everybody was really on their best behavior. People ask me that, who was the worst host, but everybody is terrified. And so they're on their best behavior, and they want to be your friend. So they're making friends. It's like you were in the battle somewhere with somebody. You want to, hey, watch out for my back.
That must be so intimidating to walk in and they're like, you're doing SNL this week.
Oh, I know. Especially the actors that weren't used to live performing.
Sure.
Like the film actors.
Yeah.
They were terrified, some of them. And I felt for them. But the first one I did was with Sigourney Weaver.
The very first one?
First one. And I remember it was such a hard week. It's so much work because, you're putting everything into it. You want to, it's like your last show you're ever going to do. And I remember at the end of the week, she was saying goodbye to everybody. And I thought, wow, she gets to go on with her life and do other things.
Yeah.
And I'm staying here with another week like that. 9 years of those.
9 years?
Yeah.
Maron.
That's
a long time.
Yeah. But, when I see those people that hosted, every one of them from those 9 years, even some of the musicians, were like best buddies. It's like they remember and they know you because it was such a moment for them.
Sure.
Of bonding. Just everybody that's been on that show. It's like a lifelong friend.